it's momentum.
Yes.
And I use the analogy of popcorn. And popcorn is one of those things where it requires a certain level of energy, consistent energy.
Right.
But it'll be in there for 3 minutes. But for 2.5 minutes, it's silent. There's nothing going on. What am I doing? It's buzzing, it's spinning, the light's on, I hear the noise, I hear the fan, I can smell something, but no action, no light.
Just throw it away.
This one all of a sudden, pop, one pop.
Yep.
Right. And you hear a second audible pop. Then you hear 3, 4, 5. Then all of a sudden it's a cacophony of pops all over the place. And you might hear onesie twosies at the end. But it happens, it's been happening the whole time. You just didn't see it.
You didn't see it.
And if you turn it off and turn it back on, it may not pop.
Right.
And and if it pops, it's going to be really raggedy. So let it go. Do the actions. Like you said, keep moving. Keep doing the actions. Keep putting that energy in. Microwave energy in this case. It can be business energy. It can be intelligence. It can be sweat equity. Whatever that work is that you need to do, do the work consistently because it will build momentum. And there's a point where it takes a life of its own.
Right.
You hear the popcorn when it's ready to go. You just hear that song. It sounds like machine gun fire, like firework, 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 firework.
Same business, different day.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the Same Business, Different Day podcast. I'm your host, Zeke Corley, recording live from the incredible studio here at the Film Hub in America's climatic wonderland. That's what they call it. Vista, California. Now, let's start off by introducing our guest co-host for today. Since the very first conversation I had with her, she became one of my favorite people.
So sweet.
The boss lady behind Frontline Careers, the elegant and eloquent Mrs. Ty Roberts. How you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm excited to be here and have my first podcast.
It's awesome. I'm so glad that
I'm
you're
ready.
here. Thank you for being here. Now, for the two distinguished gentlemen that sit before us, co-hosts of the Winning Inside podcast with Cheddy and Michelle, one of my favorite speakers, not just because of the accent, a master communicator, bringing our audience jewels to live and work by, Mr. Cheddy Matthews is here with us.
So amazing to be here. I'm so honored to be on this podcast. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm honored to have you. Now, another one of my favorite speakers, but not just because of the silky voice, but his measured wisdom and daily quotes, the host of the Straight Talk with DJ Doc podcast. It's Thomas Howard, a.k.a. DJ Doc.
All right. How's everyone doing?
That's right. Hit him early.
Drops the silky bass right away.
I'm going to get that accent and throw with the voice.
Unstoppable, right?
Yeah, they need a podcast together and they call it Unstoppable. All right, so the key to this show is to walk through a journey with you guys, right? You two are so great at jumping into present day and discussing strategies to help people succeed today. But I'm asking you to put yourselves into your childhood minds first, right? Where you may or may not have already had it all figured out. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But we still want to go back. We want to go back to the beginning. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
Yeah, most definitely.
Right.
That'd be golden.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're going to get to know a little bit about you guys. Let's take it all the way back to the very beginning. Let's go childhood and hear a little bit about your stories, all right?
Okay, all right.
No pressure.
No
No
pressure.
None
pressure.
whatsoever. So my understanding is my dad came home and my... Oh,
All
right.
Different kind of show.
We're going to skip a little
Fast
ahead of
forward
that.
9 months. Fast forward
9 months past that.
I think for me, as a child, I can remember wanting to do certain things probably around the age of 10. I had asthma early on, and I always wanted to do more. But because of the asthma, it's like, don't run, don't eat chocolate, can't have nuts. It's like, man. Mm-hmm. And I can remember playing one day at 10, and all of a sudden, one of the kids would chase me. And I was running. And I kept on running, and I did not notice that I couldn't breathe. Oh, no. It was like, what the heck? And I do remember them saying, you could possibly outgrow asthma. So I did. And that was, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of the words then, but it was just life-changing for me.
Sure.
You know, and I got to think about the fact of things that I could do that I'd always been told I couldn't do. So, right away I went out, ate chocolate.
Had tons of peanuts in the chocolate.
Yep, and just sitting there waiting. I had my little EpiPen and everything else, and I had not told my mom yet. But
You didn't even tell your mom
I
yet.
had not told my
We
mom.
move a little slower, guys. We're a little more less risk adverse.
Yeah, she could have gave you just like a little square of chocolate.
Possibly.
She could have sent you to run a little bit more to see how
But
you feel.
I knew I needed my EpiPen.
Yeah,
So I was good.
Okay.
But around that time was when I started looking at different things, seeing things on TV and so forth. And one of the things that I remember looking at and seeing was the show Emergency, which used to be on TV. Gage and DeSoto. I remember their names. They were paramedics.
Okay.
And a part of me was like, I want to do that.
That's what you wanted to do when you grew up. You had that in your mind.
The show was just great.
That's awesome.
So from there, I looked at the fact I wanted to do that. So as I went into high school and so forth, I became an EMT.
You getting the
Wait.
Yeah.
But where are we? We're having all these dreams. You got to tell us where you're at. What state are we in?
Yeah, where
are we?
They want all that. All right,
want
so
all of
I was
it.
born in Manhattan.
Okay.
From New York, born in Manhattan, raised in the Bronx up to age 12,
Boogie down.
Yes, sir.
and then moved out to Long Island.
Strong Island.
Okay. So from there, that's when I got to Long Island. I was like, I want to do something long in the medical field, and Gage and DeSoto still. And so
Emergency. I don't even know that show. That's awesome.
I found out that I could be an intern on the ambulance and did, and wound up probably a year intern. And then I was able to, once I hit 14, my mom, back then.
You were interning at 13.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I really wanted to.
you wanted this.
And so a
Wow,
friend of the
that's-
family was a fireman, and he helped get me as an intern. So I did some ride-alongs with them on the fire trucks and so forth. And he said, I can get you set up so that, you can go with the paramedics. And I was like, yeah.
Okay.
I'm in there.
Yeah.
What was funny about that was I had not thought anything other than being on the ambulance. From there, the nice thing that came about was the fact that I saw a baby being born. We went to one of the
It's amazing.
calls, and it was a baby being born, and everything changed. I then wanted to do that. I wanted to deliver babies.
Okay.
That was the greatest thing to me, to see a baby being born and how the life came into the world, and they took care of the baby and then gave it to the mother, and it's like, wow.
Man, that's an amazing first. Okay,
So
you
that's
got
your
to
first
top this
pivot.
now, Cheddy.
Oh.
You got to top. When you delivered a baby at 14.
It wasn't me that delivered at 14.
On a ship blindfolded.
With one hand tied behind my back.
Behind my back. My right hand at that.
Absolutely.
Where did it all start for you, Cheddy?
So for me, it started at the Royal, what's called the Royal London Hospital now. It's called the London Hospital when I was there. It wasn't Royal back then, but now it's the Royal London Hospital in East London. So I'm a Cockney. If you ever watched the movie Snatch, where they have that crazy accent, that's how I was born. Under the sound of Bow Bell, so I'm a legit Cockney from East London. Then I moved to the South East, mate. So the South East, how you say it? SAAAF, South. You got to practice it, everybody. South East. So from the South East. But before that, when I was born, I was actually 4 pounds 1 ounce, probably about 5-6 weeks preemie, and hung out in an incubator for a little while.
Wow.
So for me, everything after that was gravy. Once I realized that, I realized it's a miracle that I'm even here. And apparently I was hyperactive since then because they had to tie me up because I was all over the place. So that has been the story of my life. Just this hyper dude that's been hyper since he was born, but he's glad to be here because he almost wasn't. So I appreciate life in a way because for me, everything is gravy because at that age, when you're a preemie, I mean, you hear the pessimism. Oh, you're not going to have this, you're not going to do this, not going to do this. So I was like, nope. So I was a runner, I was a track guy, and when I moved to America, they used to call me the track head, Cheddy Ched, the track head, because track and field is my life. So I love running, jumping, doing all that kind of stuff. I love being active. And part of the reason is because for so long there was this thing, this undertone of you can't do this. And I've never liked the whole "you can't do this" thing. That almost motivates me to be like, watch this.
Yeah.
Hold my tea, stand by.
Right.
Because people limit people that way. So I've never liked to be limited by people. But if you don't pay attention to it, it happens anyway, right? So going up beyond that, so this is in London. At 13, I moved to America. And let's talk about the culture shock. And I know I went through a whole bunch, but let's just go to that part. So I'm an English kid from London, Southeast London, moving to New York. And all my friends in New England are saying, Americans, because we watch TV, it's a little backwards. When VHS was out, so we never got the movies at the same time you did. Just gonna put that out. There's a caveat to that. Now think about that. We don't get movies at the same time you do. So I'm watching a lot of blaxploitation movies in the 80s. So I'm like a decade
Shaft.
behind. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I knew
right?
Black Season,
Okay,
Cleopatra Jones, all about that. That's what I thought America was like. So my friends are like, when you go to New York, when you go to America, they're so backwards. They still wear flares, bell bottoms. They wear flares and stuff like that. So they're all backwards. So I get some flares to go to New York.
Oh my! In the 80s?
Oh,
Yeah.
you're preparing
Oh,
yourself.
The golden era of hip hop. I'm in New York in flares.
In Adidas tracksuit season.
I wasn't rocking an Adidas
This is
tracksuit.
all right.
Culture shock punched me in the mouth. It was not pretty.
Yeah.
I love coming here, but I would tell you for the first 4 years or so, I used to count the days and the hours. Didn't like it. Didn't like the culture. My friends weren't here. I mean, I made new friends, but my friends weren't here.
Right.
We spoke a different language. People are telling me, speak English. Dude, I'm from England. What do you
Yeah.
Of course I
This
speak
is the
English.
origination of English,
So
friends.
can you imagine the frustration
Oh,
of people
my.
telling you to speak English? Or where is you from? That is not the Queen's
Not the
English.
right way to say that question.
That is not anybody's English. I was just livid. I couldn't get it. And just the loss of words. When I would say, can I have some crisps? When people are saying, you mean potato chips? Wait, what? Can I have some chips? Chips? You mean potato? You know, like chips are French fries.
Right.
So this language, but these micro nuances in the language would throw me off. And it was just frustrating because like people couldn't understand me. I had a social studies teacher that for a whole year, when he was teaching me New York history, I remember him saying 2 words, Boss Tweed. Look him up. He's like some kind of shady guy from New York. I don't even know who the guy is. The only 2 words I could understand out of the man's mouth. So he talked for a whole year. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't know what he was saying. I would just read the book and be like, okay, I don't know what he's talking about. I was just reading, right? That was it. So I love coming to America. And at some point you realize you're not going home.
Right,
Make the
right.
best.
And so that's a question that I have for you, right? Because we've had some guests on here who, moved or their family moved from another country, right? We have guests that are outside of the country that listen to this show.
Right.
How do you find influences, mentors, somebody who can kind of direct you if you're not even, first of all, you don't even like being here and you don't, and the people that you're talking to aren't necessarily reaching down to pull you up, right? Because that's what Doc had, right? Doc has somebody in that ambulance saying, hey, I can put you, or paramedics saying, I can put you over here in the ambulance or what, so he's got somebody to actually reach down and kind of be an influencer for his future.
Right.
How do you find somebody in that scenario?
I'll tell you, at that age, now this is all happening in junior high back then, middle school, junior high age. So you remember, this is the age where you're focusing on identity, peer pressure, you're trying to fit in. I didn't fit into anything. I was definitely the quintessential square peg in a round hole. Didn't fit anywhere. There was no other kid named Cheddy. There was one other kid from England. I mean, nobody, and I had a Jamaican background. I was just so off and didn't fit anywhere. But in that, I realized I don't fit anywhere, but I fit everywhere. So I had friends in all these circles. I wasn't never in a clique, but I knew everybody in everybody else's clique. So I never affiliated with one group of people, but I infiltrated all of them, which I thought was beautiful. And it worked out well. And I realized that if I can't be any of them, I'm going to be none of them, and I'm going to be all of them. So that has been what I do. I am definitely, to this day, the square peg in the round hole. I had a Marine officer tell me, you dance to a beat of a different drum. And I'm like, is that because I'm English? Is that because I'm a New Yorker? Or is that because I'm boyish? Like, is that because I'm, I just went to the brown eyes? Like, what are we saying? Because I'm bald? I just wanted him to say it, but he couldn't say it. And I was like, nah, you're right. No respect for you. Gone.
Sure.
Because I'm not going to dance to the beat of your drum because I'm not you.
Sure.
So being authentically me is my superpower. It's all I can be. So I'm good at that. I have a lot of years of experience doing that.
I love when you say that.
But it's the truth.
Right.
Dog, you know it's the truth. I can't. Zeke, you're an awesome human being. But if I tried to be you, I'd be a cheap, raggedy knockoff.
Right.
And I could study you for years and still be raggedy.
Like I'm like, Doc, man, just give me your accent.
And again, successful at everything we do with the accent.
Try to be dog. See, that didn't sound like that was my man voice, people. So this is how bad that was. So I don't even try that. I just have learned to adopt and embrace who I am, because that's all I am.
That's important.
Right. Take off the mask of trying to fit in and just be who you are.
It never fit.
And never, yeah.
It never fit. I remember in boot camp, somebody told me to speak American. I'm not going to do that for you because it was so emotionally painful. Though 70 people fell on the floor rolling around laughing because I was trying to sound like Texas Pete. Because I couldn't do it. It was bad.
Yes, Texas people speak wonderfully.
No, it was bad. It was not good at all. It was what I thought. My brain
What you thought we should sound like?
It was awful. Even the drill instructors had to hide their faces and laugh. I mean, it was bad. It was bad. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that. Nowadays, there's a little bit of American that comes out. Some New York comes out. Some Jimmy Akon come out. Some London will come out. You know what I mean? So all this stuff is amalgamated into who I am. It's just this is just who I am.
Well, that's who we are anyway, right? You know, I feel like we talked about this on the panel where we first sat down together.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, like I have my godfather's laugh. Right? I have, my dad's walk, but you know, and you have these things, but these are influences that are all there for you, and all of those pieces come together and make you the person that you are. You know what I'm saying? And it's good, especially when you can grab the positive influences, of course, right? But you know, sometimes some of us grab some of those negative ones as well. Be paying attention to what it is, where you're grabbing from.
I learned young. I think because just being young, my stepdad, I didn't like him that much growing up. Love him now, but growing up, didn't like him at all.
Okay.
And I used to say, he is the antithesis of anything I want to be. That was the word I used to use when I was in 11th grade, 10th grade. But that was the word I used to use because whatever he did, I didn't want to do. So in a lot of ways, there's reasons why I probably don't drink and smoke and do certain things because that's what he used to do. And I said, I don't want anything to be like. I don't want to be like you in any way, shape, or form.
I see.
Maybe not the best influence, but it was how I turned my lemons into lemonade or lemon meringue pie or lemon drops or lemon bar, if you like that.
Still an influence. Right.
But it was definitely, it's you can turn a positive or a negative situation into what you need it to be.
Absolutely.
That's a great lesson right there.
I'm still learning that lesson.
Yeah.
Believe me. Still learning. Some lessons are easy, but sometimes you get a graduate course and it's like, whoa.
Right.
Yeah.
Life will hit you sometimes. We're like, whoa,
Boy.
let me
It'll
reassess
surprise
that.
you out of nowhere when you least expect it.
Yeah, and we're not exempt.
Not at all.
No, absolutely not.
Not exempt.
All right. So let's go education a little bit, right? How did you get it? What schooling did we do? How do we prepare? What do we want to be? Right? Because that's the big question. Like, right when we're kids, we think, oh, like you said, I'm gonna be a EMT. Then no, I think I'm gonna deliver babies. So let's walk through that path. How did we get there?
You know, for me, similar to what Cheddy was saying, I didn't know my father. So with me trying to be like the man that I should have seen, I didn't have that. I had uncles. And like we said, you want that good part and the bad part. I had an uncle that was a womanizer. You know, did I pick up on some of that? A little bit. Then I had the uncle that took care of his wife beautifully. Did I pick up on that? A lot. You know, so with doing all of that, what happens is you start to look at the fact of how you need to be. So for me, what was nice was when I decided that I wanted to deliver babies, I then learned I had to be a doctor to do that. I only had my mother. She worked 2 jobs. She was a nurse, and then in the evening, she would work as a phone operator. And that was back in the day where, you remember I can't remember her name, but she used to be, I think, on the Carol Burnett show where she was, Lily Tomlin. She would
Unplug and pull
plug and unplug and attach and connect the people via the phone.
Right.
My mom used to do that.
Okay.
And I can remember her
switch
doing
operator or
that. Yeah,
something.
the switch operator or whatever. So she worked 2 jobs. As time went, and it was getting close to me being probably in the 11th grade, I realized she's not going to be able to pay for me to go to college to be a doctor. You know, what am I going to do? And pretty much all of my uncles had been in the military. So they all said, go in the military. They'll pay for school.
Okay.
I was like, fantastic. I think we've talked about this all the time, Cheddy. And so with that, I was like, great, that's what I'm going to do. So probably a year before my senior year, I signed up. My mom signed so I could go into the military. So I was in the delayed entry program for a whole year before I graduated. Upon graduation, I then went into the military and I became a corpsman, hospital corpsman. So hospital corpsmen are trained to the level of...
So this is Army, was your branch, or was it Navy?
I'm not talking to her anymore. I said corpsman. Everyone knows hospital corpsman is Navy. No, I'm just kidding. It is Navy.
Done. I'm canceled, guys. I'm leaving. Bye.
Somebody's been triggered.
PTSD. Okay. No, but it was the Navy.
Okay, Navy.
And I decided that was great. Now, what a lot of people don't know is I was actually supposed to go to Annapolis. However, the school I was in made a really big deal about me going. And it was done because of me being the person that I was and looked like. Because there were 4 of us in my high school. So I actually surprised them and joined before all of that took place.
I see.
Going in, my first duty station, which is really funny because my mother is from South Carolina.
Okay.
She wanted me to go to South Carolina for my first duty station. And she was like, promise me you'll choose it, you'll pick it, and everything. And I was like, okay, I promise. Well, I'd found out that you get 3 choices. Usually your first or second is what you get. Charleston was my 3rd.
I see what you did there.
See what I did there?
I see what you did there.
Yeah, God thought differently.
Yeah, of course. He always knows, doesn't he?
I wound up in Charleston.
All right.
But they had learned that I was on the ambulance and so forth, so I was able to work as a paramedic when I got to Charleston. So I worked right out of the ER as a paramedic. I was stationed there for 3 years, and just to make it real quick, the training I had gotten in the military was on par with high-level RN.
Okay.
And then later on, I went further so I could be what's called an independent duty corpsman, and you work on par of what a physician assistant, a PA is. But during the 3 years I did the paramedic, I delivered 9 babies. Myself, actually delivered. And at that point, I was like, I don't need to be a OBGYN doctor.
Right.
I'm doing all this in the military.
Yeah.
So that part of it didn't interest me. And we'll get into where my interest went after that.
I love it. Now, you went into the military, too, though.
I did.
We're not going to guess what branch because we get in trouble on this side.
Clearly.
Let me just put it out right now. Simplify, do or die.
Hoorah, I got it. Hoorah.
That's why we get along because, we need our dog.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, you were in like 22 years or something, wasn't it?
I was in 22 years.
And you were in 20?
20 years.
Yeah.
11 months.
And like he says, we took care of our Marines.
Yeah.
And our Marines took care of us.
Okay.
I like that.
So
That's
one of
the affinity that we have.
Yeah,
I think
the brotherhood that's there. Yes.
And hats off, too, because I think a lot of times in this country we overlook our Black veterans. We overlook and we pretend like my grandfather fought in World War II.
Whoa.
Right? It's overlooked in the Air Force. Overlooked. People are like, oh, but you didn't have family in the military. We do. Lots of us are in the military, so hats off to both. That's a long career.
Absolutely. Thank you. So tell what went into
Let's
the
hear
decision.
it.
The Same Business Different Day podcast is brought to you by YourInsurancePlace.com. YourInsurancePlace.com is a conglomeration of 2 agencies, Network One Insurance and Bill Corley Insurance Agency. Their property and casualty agents and brokers specialize in commercial insurance of all types, general liability, workers' compensation, professional liability, auto, agribusiness, and much more. They also have great insurance carriers for your homes and autos. How do I know they are that good? Because I'm one of the agents. We believe in ourselves, and you will too. Contact us at yourinsuranceplace.com or call us direct at 866-384-0479. That's yourinsuranceplace.com.
Hi, I'm Jeff Fox, founder of Star Fox Media. We're a digital marketing and video production company that focuses on serving small businesses here in Vista, California. We have the team and all of the equipment necessary to produce, film, edit, and distribute your podcast to as many people as possible. For more information, you can reach out to us via email at info@starfox.media or give us a call at 760-385-3117. Let Star Fox Media help you tell your brand story today.
When did I make that decision?
Yeah, how did you get to the decision?
Oh, I can tell you how I got to the decision, but I wasn't going to anybody's military. I'm British. I'm a British citizen. I got a green card, which isn't actually green. People just want to let you know it's not green, but I had a green card. So I guess by the time I came, they changed the color. But why is a British person going to join the U.S. military? That's what I told the recruiters when they called. Like, leave me alone. Not doing that. I might be fighting some of my mates if you ever go to fight England. Like, that was my logic back then when I was 17, 18. But I'm a track guy, so I'm going to run at someone's school. I mean, I'm a state champion. I've been to the national track meet. I ran at the same time with Rondi Barber, Tiki Barber, Marion Jones. I'm in there with these people. So I'm like, I'm going to go run track for somebody. I didn't know, and nobody told me that I could get money for school. I thought because I was British, there was no money for me. So when everyone's talking about college, I was like, well, that's not me. I can't go to school. So then I was like, well, what am I going to do? So I went to a junior college at first. Went to a junior college, and then money for the college ran out. And like I tell people, charm and good looks doesn't keep you in school.
No.
Won't keep you there. So at some point I realized I am almost 20, and then at some point I was 20. I'm 20 years old. I'm in my mother's house. I am too old to be a boy child in my mother's house.
Okay.
Because coming from England, my sisters left the house at 16. Not because they were runaways, but in England, you're an adult at 16. Not now, but then you're an adult at 16. They had their own. They lived in their own places at 16. So here I am at 20, like, why am I still in my mother's house? Like, I'm the boy child. This just felt like wrong to me. My mom was like, it's a different country. Things are different. I'm like, not to me it isn't. I should not be in your house. So I was like, I'm going to go to the military. But I was going to the Navy at first. I was going to the Navy. Okay. And I scored well enough to get into this job, and I really wanted this job, and it was great. Nobody told me that because I wasn't a citizen, I couldn't get a security clearance. So there were certain jobs not afforded to me. Should have told me that. Expectation management.
Right.
So I know I qualify for this job. You already told me. They didn't tell me I couldn't get the job because I was British. So then they said, oh, that job doesn't exist. So I'm like, okay. Somebody comes back saying, hey, I just joined the Navy and it's my job and I'm so cool. And I'm like, wait, that's the job I wanted. I'm not going. Right. You gotta know Cheddy. Like, Cheddy's that guy. Cheddy's either going or he's not going. I'm binary when it comes to certain things. I'm not going. So we're fighting back and forth. I'm not going. Because I enlisted under false pretense because I've been reading the books, right? Because I know. I'm at that age where I know everything, right? I'm not going. They're scaring me doing something. You're going to go to jail. I'm like, I'm not going. Right. So then finally, they kicked me out of the Navy. Right? They kind of like signed me to like leave. And I go to the Marine Corps. I walk by the recruiter's office, look at them. I walk in like, I want to be a Marine. So they're like, that was an easy sell.
Yeah.
But it was. And the reason being, the recruiter I had signed up for the Navy. And that evening, the Marine Corps recruiter, Star Sergeant Best, Cassandra Best, called me. And I was like, sorry, ma'am, I just joined the Navy. She goes, oh, good job. Congratulations. She saw me in school the next day and was congratulating me. And she gave me some great, poignant advice that I give other Marines and sailors and military people.
What's that?
Like she was like, learn the regulations where you go. One thing she told me, and I tell my son's a Marine now, and I tell him that, and I tell his friends that. Learn the regs. Know the rules for yourself. Know what you can and cannot do.
Right.
Know the game. Any game you play, know the rules.
That's right.
But she also told me, save your money. Save your money. She told me that from like, as a high school student, she told me to save your money. She goes, find mentors that can show you how to do this.
That's right.
Those two pieces of advice were golden for me.
Beautiful.
And the fact that she invested in me when I was not I was a sailor at the time. I was going to go to the Navy. But she told me those things when I was going to the Navy. So now I was like, if I'm not going to the Navy, I want to be like her. I want to be a Marine. So that's what I did. So I did that. So I was the non-traditional student. I had some college, but not enough for anything. So I applied for a program called the MECET program, the Marine Corps Enlisted Commissioning Education Program. Say that 3 times fast. So that brought me out to San Diego the first time. That's when I fell in love with it, 97. They taught me how to basically read and write the way that you do in academia, which is great. So I went there, learned how to do some things, went to college, got my degree, and got commissioned. And I became a citizen. But I became a citizen not because of anything other than there was a sword that I wanted. It's like, how do you get that sword? You got to be an NCO, a non-commissioned officer, because I want that sword. Well, look, I'm like, how do you get that sword? You got to be an officer. Well, I want to be an officer. Well, you got to be a citizen. Well, I want to be a citizen. My paperwork says, I want to be a citizen in the United States of America so I can become an officer in the Marine Corps. That's what it said.
Somewhere that's official.
That was,
on the paper.
That was what I said, when it was called the Immigration and Naturalization Service, the INS. That was what I wrote. And that was why I became, because I wanted that sword.
I love that.
It took me a little while to get that sword, but I got that sword. It took me another 7-8 years to get the sword. I got it. And, it sounds crazy, but that was how I became.
That's an amazing story. I like that.
I like school. I like non-traditional school because there's many roads to paradise, and for me, it was I had to go non-traditional because there was no money for me, so I had to find ways to pay for my schooling. So for me, the Marine Corps did that for me, which was totally grateful. And now I'm going back for my executive MBA. That's gonna be fun.
Now that's major, man. You were telling me about that earlier, man. Congratulations.
It's condensed. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
I'm good.
Congratulations on that 92 you got yesterday too.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
When was the last time you slept?
Let's not talk about that.
Okay.
It wasn't
There'll be little sleep in this program, but it pays off. Pays off.
nice.
That's awesome. Okay, so I like that, how you got to San Diego. I like you brought that story full circle. And so now I'm interested in the same thing for you, Doc, like how you got to San Diego after.
So I actually got to California. In 83, I came to Balboa, went to a school.
Okay.
It was a 7-8 month school. Then drove back across the country. Years later, in 1996, I had not been to California. And there was an available spot for me. I'm an IDC now. And I was like, yes, I'd like to go to Cali. So I wound up in the Bay Area, Treasure Island, in 96.
Okay.
We've talked about the fact that we probably could have passed each other, not known. But in 96, I wound up in the Bay Area.
I'd tell you how you guys passed each other. Doc was the one that said that you can't join the Navy.
It wasn't me. If he was healthy, the recruiters used to be mad at me because I remember when I was recruited, one of the things that occurred for me was I was with a ball company. Everybody in the company was from New York.
Okay.
I was out of 82, 84 guys. I was the only one that could swim.
Oh.
And so, in the Navy, people.
In the Navy.
Well, these were all new guys, just coming in.
Yeah.
But because they were from New York, most of them were from the city. As I said, I grew up on Long Island.
Yeah.
So the people I was with, some of their friends, or their parents rather, owned boats. So to go out on the boat, you have to swim.
You gotta swim.
That's right.
And then they were jumping into the ocean and whatnot. And,
Yeah,
I was like, well, I got to do this
Can be
also.
the last one on the
Right,
boat.
so I learned to swim. But I say that because of the simple fact, I didn't like that the recruiter told me, oh, yeah, we've got pools you can swim in. We've got trips you can take. And I was like, oh, this sounds great.
Right.
This sounds great. Yeah, the pool is the one at boot camp where they're trying to teach all these guys that can't swim to swim.
I didn't know.
So you were up in the Bay Area for a little bit.
Right, I was up in the Bay Area from 96 to 2000. And I
Okay.
came
Oh, wow.
down to San Diego August of 2000. And that was when I was looking at what they called your Twilight Tour because I was ready to retire. I was looking at the fact, I'm coming up on 22. I think I'm good. I do not want to keep on going because I had some other interests which had to do with me being a business owner.
Right.
And I looked at the fact that, you know what? I'm at 20 years. Most people retire at 20. They told me it was a plush location for me to be at Pendleton there. ACU 5, it was a nice little, the assault craft units.
Assault craft unit.
So I was there. And
Okay.
it was nice because pretty much for 2 years, well, I can't get in trouble now, but I'd be leaving at noon.
Okay.
Get there 6, 7.
He thought about it.
Just for a second, there was a pause.
I'm past the time that they can call me back or anything. But I'd get there late, leave early.
That's cool, man. That's cool. And that's a perfect transition so we can get into the reveal. It's time for the reveal. As we encourage entrepreneurs, we understand corporate work. And we also understand corporate mobility and using growth in earnings to maintain your great corporate job while becoming an entrepreneur as well. One of the smartest ways to accomplish this, an independent coach, teacher, trainer, and speaker with Maxwell Leadership Certified Team and owner of Headspace Coaching, Cheddy Matthews, is in the building. That applause is coming. You can't hear it right now. You earned it. And not to be outdone with how many hats one can wear, a DJ, voice actor, a travel agent, a nurse, let's just say a serial entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, international mentor, and author. Owner of Thomas Howard Enterprises and co-owner of ROC Enterprises with his wife, Lori Howard. It's Thomas Howard, a.k.a. DJ Doc.
Hey.
I thank both of you gentlemen for making the time to visit with us today. Really
definitely.
appreciate it.
Always rich to be on the platform.
Yeah, I love
Great
it.
energy in this room. I love it.
Yeah, I
So much
love it,
growth.
man. Thank you, man. And you know what? And you know, it really, a lot of credit goes out to our listeners too, because the reason why we're doing this is because there are so many folks that are listening that really kind of get inspired by these stories, right? Those paths are very unique. They're similar in some ways, but so important for folks to hear. Decisions that need to be made. What do I do now?
Yeah.
Go into the military. I don't know what, the schools, I'm having trouble with this way or that way. There are decisions that can be made that can take you there. How am I going to pay for college? But when it comes time to also going into business for yourself, that was also some thoughts that you were having in your mind.
Oh, yes.
And when it comes time to do that, then there's decisions to be made. When do I retire from the military and go into business? I think I've got what it takes now. So how did you get into all these hats?
Doc, you wear a lot of hats, Doc. How did you do all this?
You know what's interesting is I started DJing actually while I was still in the military in 1995.
Okay.
The name DJ Doc was given to me by my Marines.
Okay.
All right, because Doc is what they call us.
Oh, I like that.
And what was great about it was we used to go to one of the schools up in Alameda, and we would do the reading programs with the kids and everything. And one of the teachers said, we're going to be having a dance, so we're going to cut the reading a little bit short. We'll be in the gym and so forth. And kids were like, Mr. Howard, are you going to come to a dance? I was like, yeah, okay, fine. But she had, and I remember this, she had this little boombox. For those that might be listening, a boombox was a big radio. However, hers was not really that big.
Not much
It was
room.
probably 12 inches by 4 inches high, 2 inches thick. Small.
That's a radio.
Yes, it's the box. No boom. No
So
boom.
what was funny about it was the fact that she put that on, and these were 6th graders.
Okay.
They are out there screaming, jumping around, running in circles. She's got music on. But the music she had was the Monkees. Hey, we're the Monkees.
Oh.
Yeah, 95. And, the kids, they couldn't hear it. 2, if they could, they didn't know what it was.
No.
And so she was talking about the fact that it's really hard to get them to pay attention, to wind down a little bit. And I said, you know what? I've got a shelf system at home, and I've got a couple of CDs of probably some people they know. I didn't live far from the school. I said, I'll just run home and grab that. So I ran home, grabbed that, and I put that on. They could hear it. It was loud enough for them to hear. So now I'm out there dancing with them and everything. Towards the end, a father came up to me and he says, you know what? You were doing great with them. I love the way that you were DJing, and my daughter has a birthday party coming up this weekend. Can you DJ? And I was like, oh, no, I'm not a DJ. I just went and got, he's like, I saw what you were doing. We're going to have a house full of kids. I don't want to deal with them.
I'll pay you.
Can you DJ it? I'll pay you $250.
All right.
And I was like, I'll be there.
Yeah, I can DJ.
I'm
an expert.
No problem. But what happened then was, I guess he told his daughter, who told another little friend of hers who was having a party the following weekend. So she told her dad, and he came up, and I can only assume now when I think back that these two families were sort of, we can do better than you can do.
Oh, okay.
Because that father came up and said, I'll pay you twice whatever he's paying you to DJ my daughter's party. And I looked at it and I was like, I just made $750 off of playing some music.
At a gym, at a school.
I can do that.
Yeah.
That was the first real thing in the line of business that I was like, oh, I could really see doing this.
Okay.
Now, I had done some other things back in the 80s when I first went in the military. I'm sure everyone is familiar with Amway.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. There was also Avon.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So you were comfortable.
Yeah.
Did Mary Kay twice?
You did Mary Kay
Right.
twice? But
Once
you
before the
look
Marine
at the
Corps, once in the
sales
Marine
people
Corps.
on that side of the table.
These were things that I'd gotten into. And when we talk about the fact of trying to figure out where you're at, sometimes you will do that. You will pick certain things and be like, I can do this.
Right.
You don't really think it through. You just say, I can do this. But I have to look back that all of those failed businesses taught me something.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah,
it
you
taught me
grow
something.
from those experiences, especially we've talked about it in the past on a couple of different episodes. That door-to-door type stuff, man, that's the stuff that will take you from a boy to a man real
Right.
fast.
Right.
Built a lot of
Right.
character.
Herbalife.
Oh,
Those were
yeah.
all, you know, Legal Shield.
Okay.
Those were all businesses that I had a part of. What I found, and with researching and so forth, speed it up maybe 10 years now, it's 2010, is millionaires have multiple streams of income.
Right.
Yes.
And I looked at it and I was like, well, I've got to have some streams. You know, I owned for a while some of the soda machines,
Okay.
vending machines and
Yeah.
things of that nature. But what I found was I got tired of dealing with the change that comes from those, because back then it was all change,
Right.
as well as having to stock them and running to get the stuff, the products, and then filling them up. It's like, nah. You know, that was another thing I was like, I'm not willing to do that. But what I learned from that is if you work hard initially, it will smooth out and you won't have to work as hard always. You know, so speed it up 2018. My wife and I, we were at the mall with our kids. The kids got us to thinking about stuff because there were people that were being rude, going in and out. It was Christmas. It was Christmas Eve, actually.
Okay.
My son, I've always told him, hold the door for people. If they say thank you, cool. If they don't, cool. My wife, on the other hand, is like, if they don't say thank you, you say thank you so they know they should have said thank you.
Sure.
But the kids wanted to go home. They love Christmas. They were like, can we just go home? And it got home and it bothered us that they weren't happy. And the reason was because of people's behavior.
Sure.
So we were up all night and we were talking about, you know, it would be nice if we could do something to change people's behavior. The culture of people nowadays is horrible. It's just bad. Thus, Revive Our Culture, which stands for ROC, or ROC stands for Revive Our Culture, was born. It's about creating a culture of caring. So we were like, we need to do something, and if it works with one person, we've made a difference.
Right.
Because most of the time when you're thinking about that, you're like, I've got to make this massive, massive difference. One at a time.
Yeah.
One
And there's
at
a
a
lot within that enterprise that you guys are doing.
Right. We started looking, and I was like, everything that we do needs to be under ROC. And to take it back real quick, when I didn't do any more medical schooling, I did go to school for business,
Yeah. Clear.
advertising, marketing.
Good.
So I started learning the fact that if you add enterprise to the end of your business, you can throw a whole bunch of stuff under it.
That's
Right.
right.
And it's all
Legally.
branding your different businesses,
Correct.
right?
So we did that. And just real quick, we've got ROC's modeling coach and runway coordinator, ROC's paint and sip. Sometimes I have to remember business marketing incentive programs. Okay. We have our media company, which we created along with doing some other things. We also have photography and videography because that's something I do as well. So we will cover that for people. We then decided we like to travel.
Travel.
We became travel agents. And so we have ROC's Worldwide Travel Agency. We have Save with ROC, where we help people save money on different things, such as bills, products, services. We have Learn with ROC, where we teach about Forex, you know. And what has happened is all of this stuff has occurred because of the change in the climate in today's
Right.
world.
But you're staying flexible.
Correct.
And what I love that you're saying too is everything is very personalized and
Correct.
individualized, right?
Correct.
Like you started talking about the modeling, it's now on an individual basis. And I
Right.
think that's one of the things that's missing in our culture is we're so lumped together, right? The whole group does this, the whole group moves this way. And to pull that out and say, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to make this drink at our paint and sip because you don't like wine, but I'm going to make what you like.
Right.
Right? It's giving that little touch that we miss when everything gets mashed together, right?
Correct.
And I can add to that. I mean, one of the things you talk about is you have a culture of caring. I mean, that is like the cornerstone of what you talk about. Like the very foundation of what you mentioned
Right.
is this community, this culture of caring. That shows in everything you do, it's personified in who you are, and your enterprises reflect that as well.
That's right.
And that's what we wanted to make sure of.
Hi, I'm Rachel Belt, President and CEO of the Vista Chamber of Commerce. Over the last 20 years, I've had the privilege of living and working in Vista, and I've met some amazing people with amazing stories. And I'm thrilled to bring them to you as part of Velocity, the Vista Chamber podcast, where I interview the movers, shakers, and change makers impacting the Vista community and beyond. I hope you'll join me as we journey together to hear the stories of the people doing amazing things for our town. Velocity, the Vista Chamber podcast. Find us anywhere you get your podcasts.
I know you wasn't expecting this type of commercial of another podcast coming in, but whoever you were listening to, they're irrelevant at the moment. What I'm saying right now is we have a brand new podcast that you should stop listening to whoever you listen to in this moment and listen to us at Odd Pairing. It is about adult beverages and
Wait, I'm
Paige.
supposed to tell you about that.
And Paige is going to tell you a little bit more.
So it's adult beverages, food, community, culture, and basically anything else we find interesting through the drinking.
Yeah. And as you can see, we've been drinking a lot today because we already did the episode. So at any time, you guys can find us when you finish with this podcast, whoever you're listening to. You can find us at YouTube. You can find us on Spotify and iTunes and anywhere else you get your
Instagram
podcast stuff. And you can also find us on Instagram, where you will find hilarious memes and some snippets from our show at Odd Pairing Pod. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hello, friends. This is Joe Samo from the Samo Law Group. I am the host of Run It By My Lawyer. Over the years, I've had so many people that have had legal issues and legal questions and legal concerns. And I always, over more than 20 years, I've been telling people, before you sign anything, before you do anything, if you have a problem, just run it by my lawyer, right? Just run it by me. And now I have a podcast doing just that. You can call me, you can email me, any questions you have. I love hearing from people and answering legal questions. And on our podcast, we've talked about everything from free speech, gun rights, anything you want to discuss, employment rights, everything. So you have an issue, run it by my lawyer and watch this podcast. You'll be entertained and you'll learn the law. Love to see you. You can find me anywhere, okay? YouTube, Spotify, Apple, whatever you want. And if you can't find me on some platform, let me know and I'll come find you. All right, thank you.
You spoke about the culture of caring, though, Cheddy, and I know about you when you're speaking and coaching, and that you're looking to specifically help out these business owners or just individuals. And so there's a lot of that. That's why that resonates with you, because there's a lot of that in you as well, right?
Absolutely. I mean, when I started coaching, it was because I was at a certain position. I'd reached a certain level in the military. You have this certain level of authority, let's call it that. You have a certain level of authority, right? So you think you're running things, you're doing all right. But my life went south. I left the Marine, I retired from the Marine Corps, so you lose that 20 plus year identity. And even though I wanted it, I still lost it when you think about it. It was a loss in my life. So there's a cycle of grief and loss that you go through, whether you want it or not. Then I went through a divorce, and that divorce was an 8-year divorce. It took a long time to get divorced. It's a lot of stress for 8 years. But even though I wanted that too, it was still a loss of my family identity, because a lot of things were disruptive in that situation.
Sure.
Then I lost my sister, and I went back to England to go take care of her, and 2 days later she died. I have never felt like an abject failure like that one. And even though it's not true, I'm like, if I had got there early, because you bargain, if I had got there a week early, if I had done this, if I had done that, she would still be here. Totally irrational, and I get that it's totally irrational, but I still wrestle with those thoughts now, that I couldn't save my sister, yet I can deploy all over the world and save other people, but couldn't save my own sister. It felt like a failure in life.
Yeah.
So that right there, when you hit rock bottom that hard, physics comes in. I mean, you hit it so hard, you got to bounce back up. I mean, I had to bounce back up.
Right.
Because my whole life, what I thought was Cheddy was gone. It all crumbled and eroded. I had to dig deep and find out who I was again, and had to reboot and restart again, because I was done. I was done. So in that, I realized, if I've been doing this, and I've been doing this, and I've seen this, and I've been here, and I've done all this other great stuff, I'm suffering in silence, and nobody knew. When I tried to commit suicide, nobody knew. One person knew on Facebook. Are you okay, Cheddy? No, I'm fine. What's going on? Talk to me. But I'm good. And that was the same day when I was about to get on my motorcycle and go hit 164 miles per hour and go end it in Virginia. I say that because I was at that low point. Who else is at that low point? Who's at that point where they're ready to leave their family? Who's about to make that decision that's going to destroy their lives? Who's about to do something negative that's going to hurt other people? You don't know where people are. But if I can say one thing on a mic, on a platform where I'm speaking, on my podcast, one-on-one coaching, group coaching in an office, where I can change somebody's life and basically affect the trajectory of their lives, I'm going to do that. Because I realized I was there and I'm a lover of life. Yet I, Cheddy Matthews, the lover of life, was on a motorcycle at 164 miles per hour to end it all.
And what you're saying is super powerful because suicide is they call it a silent killer for a reason.
Oh, yeah?
It's because people that are going to do it are quiet about it, right? They don't talk about it, right? So that type of depression, that cycle you get into, oftentimes we put on that mask and I'm okay.
I was resolute.
Right. But by you talking about it, you're giving power to that. You're taking away the how people, right, the stigma and how people feel about it, right? Because people are like, oh, if you're doing that, you're weak. No, you're not. I'm super strong to talk about this. That's amazing.
I was a strong dude.
And it helps, right?
I was physically strong. I was
very
a warrior.
strong.
I was a combat veteran. I was at my physically, outwardly at my strength when I did that.
And then the lowest.
Internally, I was at my weakest, the most vulnerable point.
Wow.
So yeah, that outward success, inward failure, I personified that.
Yeah.
I talk about those things because that was real.
Yeah.
And I remember smiling. Nobody knew. I went home, took my uniform off so as not to disgrace the uniform. And to go on the other side of the highway to not affect traffic because it was rush hour. So I wanted to be on the non-rush hour side of the highway.
Right.
And I put my uniform on, I put my clothes on and just knew where I was going to end it. And lit the roads up. And you know what happened at the last minute? Has to be divine. But something said, what about your babies? At that moment, I opened my eyes. And if that happened a quarter of a second later, I would have opened my eyes, been in the gravel, lost control, and crashed and died anyway.
Right.
I would have hit that bridge, fell over the side, blunt force trauma, drowned. And I had it all mapped out. Like I was like, I have to hit right here so I can crash, hit, collapse, bike will flip, and I'll drown.
Right.
About 100 feet down. I'm like, yeah, I'll be done. So I was trying to ensure that it would happen. Not I'd be very badly hurt. That I wanted to be
You don't want to
done.
be a vegetable. I don't want people having to worry about what happened. Done.
On my motorcycle. If I'm going out in a blaze of glory. I mean, that was how I felt. Yeah. So it was so resolute. Like, man, I mean, that decision was made and I was calm about it. It was like, let's go.
Yeah.
And it was that one thought, what about your children?
Yeah.
That thought brings me to tears now. And I tell my children this so they understand how important they are in my life.
That's right.
They saved my life. It was the only reason I had to live was them. And then what stops me now is knowing that if I had done that, I would have increased their chances of committing suicide.
That's
Amen.
right.
You would have.
That made it an X for me. It's like non-starter for me. Not because of me, because there are days when you go through those things.
Right.
Nope. My babies, I love them too much. I am not giving that to them as a legacy.
I love it, man.
No.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
man.
that is, like I said,
I will
powerful.
be real all day because it may save somebody's life.
You absolutely will.
I've had Marines that I used to serve with 20 years ago who still call me when they're going through PTSD bouts, and you can hear the weapon in their hand. Do me a favor, take the magazine out.
Right.
Just rack that round. Take that. I heard you. Hey, you just put that magazine back in. Please take it out for me. And I've had these. I'm not qualified to have these conversations, but they talk to me, and I will talk to them because I don't want it to be the last time I hear from them. But they're at that cusp, and I've been there. I understand that.
And that's what makes you qualified, though, to have that conversation. You're not speaking hypothetically. You're speaking from.
I'm speaking from.
I was there.
Right.
Been there.
You know, and also, I'll say this too, just based on a conversation that we were having earlier, where you are now actually working with people who are going through changes in their life, like we were saying, either positive or negative, right?
Yes.
And so tell us about what you're doing.
So what I used to call it was a significant negative event, but I realized it's not a significant negative event. It's really just a significant transitionary event. You go through a change in your life, whether it was expected, unexpected, anticipated, not planned, not... A change in your life can derail you so much that it throws you off. Your mojo's gone, your confidence is gone, your swag is gone, your fear is just elevated. Whatever it is, you are no longer elevating the way you should. How do we get you back on your trajectory? How do we get that spark back, get your fire back, get that drive back? How do we get your swag back, that confidence? How do we get that back? Because you had it once. You got to a certain place. How do we get you to higher heights? By working through the things that have derailed you, that have stifled you, that have stopped you. That's what I'm about now. Because that was my story. And it's the story of many people. It's the reason why I have the podcast is because I know there are people in other countries that I haven't even been to yet that are listening to that podcast.
That's
and
right.
It could change one life.
Right.
Amen.
You get these text messages and these emails, you're just like, who is that? And I'll share them, and Michelle and I will look at them and be like, holy smokes, somebody's in Poland listening to this?
Right.
And is responding to it?
Yeah.
That could be a life saved.
And that's what I was saying
And
earlier about one person.
Oh, I was about to ask you. Yeah, I was about to ask you
One
a
at
question
time
about that. Yeah.
Is what you do. When I get people, when I mentor people, and they're like, man, this just doesn't seem to be working. I'm like, in order to move forward, you have to move. Take that step. Take the step. And keep on stepping.
Oh, look at it. Hey, I see your posts every day on Instagram. Hey, that's one of them right there. Like, I like that, man. I like that one a lot.
And we've talked about this when we were on the show. Yeah. Even I had people that were responding about, I was listening to you two guys, and I started a business, but then I wasn't going to do it, and I'm going to start it back. Yeah. And I've had people that's like, you know what? I started it back. Stuff that Cheddy had said, stuff that I had said, and they're like, all of a sudden, things are going well. It's just to keep stepping.
Yeah. And that's how you know you're helping people. It's right. Because they're taking your advice, right?
Right.
And they're not staying in that waiting place. They're not staying stuck.
Correct. You just have to keep doing that.
It's momentum.
Yes.
And I use the analogy of popcorn. And popcorn is one of those things where it requires a certain level of energy, consistent energy.
Right.
But it'll be in there for 3 minutes. But for 2.5 minutes, it's silent. There's nothing going on. Right. What am I doing? It's buzzing, it's spinning, the light's on, I hear the noise, I hear the fan, I can smell something, but no action, no life.
Just throw it away.
This one all of a sudden, pop, one pop.
Yep.
Right. And you hear a second audible pop. Then you hear 3, 4, 5. Then all of a sudden, it's a cacophony of pops. All over the place. And you might hear onesie, twosies at the end. But it happens, it's been happening the whole time. You just didn't see it.
You didn't see it.
And if you turn it off and turn it back on, it may not pop.
Right.
And and if it pops, it's going to be really raggedy. So let it go. Do the actions. Like you said, keep moving. Keep doing the actions. Keep putting that energy in. Microwave energy in this case. It can be business energy. It can be intelligence. It can be sweat equity. Whatever that work is that you need to do, do the work consistently because it will build momentum. And there's a point where it takes a life of its own.
Right.
You hear the popcorn when it's ready to go. You just hear that song. It sounds like machine gun fire, like fireworks.
And once you hear it, you know you're getting ready to eat something.
But you got to keep going to get to that point. So yes, continue that momentum.
I love it. I love that, specifically talking about momentum and talking to both of you guys who are both networking masters, right?
Yes.
The reason why I say the momentum, because you have to keep putting in that energy. Yes. Now, that's something that I was actually speaking about this morning at a seminar that we were doing at the San Marcos Chamber of Commerce today. Nice. I'm with the member outreach committee, and so we put on an event talking about networking, especially to a lot of the newer members, right? And Doc, I know you're over there at the University Club. I listened to your show, and I know what you got going on over there, and it's amazing. I love networking, and I know, too, what Networking Demystified.
Networking Demystified. Michelle and I have a course coming out called Networking Demystified. And all it really is we know how to network. I love network. I am a flaming on fire extrovert. I am. I love it. However, Michelle is an introvert.
Okay.
But very skilled. But in that too, we network in a phenomenal way. We met networking. That was how Michelle, my podcast co-host, we met networking. So in
That's how Ty and I met.
Yeah. It works. And you can create some amazing relationships. Everyone in this room met via networking somehow.
Right.
Sure. That is the power of networking.
That's right.
But I try to take the fangs out of it. So we call it networking demystified because some people don't want to do it.
Oh, people are petrified about networking. And as a fellow, I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
Hard to tell. Totally am. I'm the introverted. I'm the extroverted introvert.
Yeah.
Like I'm a true introvert by book.
Yeah.
But I understand that networking is a skill. So for people, when you take that out, right?
Yes.
And you explain it's not a personality type, it's a skill, right? It's something you have to get comfortable with. It's muscle memory.
Yes. Well, one of the things that one of the guys spoke about today, we talked about the extroverts and the introverts, but introverts can be really, really good listeners, right?
Yeah.
And so the extrovert's got to talk to somebody.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And they love to find us. We're just like,
so I'm that guy. I'm going to find it.
And we're just picking up on all the little bits that you're saying, right? Yeah. And then we're going to spit them back later.
They spit them out. They see, because I'm seeing a million things. Oh, bud, tree, dog, horse, wow. You are honing in, seeing the nuances. Whereas I'm breadth, you are depth.
Yes.
And I love to listen to an introvert who has been observing the whole time.
That's right.
And when they speak, You better listen. Yeah. There's some gems coming out of the mouth. And I love that mix. I love the mix. I love going to introverts because they may not come to me, but I'll go to you. And then I'll have the conversation because I know there's going to be some good stuff coming up. Because you've been sitting there the whole time. Yeah. And you've been scanning the room. You've been surveying. And you've been assessing. And I just love the dynamic.
Do not underestimate an introvert's ability to network.
Yeah. One of the things that you always look at, and a lot of people, when I get to talking to them and explaining this, your network is your net worth.
That's right.
Say that one more time
for the crowd.
And your network is your net worth, as well as your net worth can be your network.
That's right.
That's true.
There are people that, and the other thing that goes with that is you never know when you're 3 feet away from gold. You know, we've talked about this so many times. You talk to somebody and then you find out that, oh, wow, they need this, or they are this person. I didn't know that.
I know someone.
Yeah, I know somebody. A lot of times people say I'm like the business broker. Why? Because I will connect people. I have a way that I get your information, give you my information, and then if you tell me you're trying to do something, if I don't do it, I can get you to that person. I know somebody that does.
That's right. So
you want to make sure that if you aren't networking, start to.
Let me give that a name. Let's call that relational wealth. There's many different kinds of wealth, but let's just call that relational wealth. Right. The fact that you have the ability to connect people together is a form of wealth, just for the reasons you said.
Right.
It just expands your aperture. It opens you up. It gives you the ability to add value to so many people and have people add value to you. How much synergy can happen, even in this room, how much synergy is happening right now in here with just 4 people? When you can do that, you add value, make things richer. And I'm a guy that believes all ships rise in the tide. We can all win together if we help each other out in our strength zones.
That many people don't see.
Yeah.
And, you know, I always get people to say, so you're going to refer me to so-and-so? Yeah. Oh, you get a kickback? No. That's the part of us with creating a culture of caring.
Yeah.
I care enough that you need something. I can get you to a person that may be able to help you.
That's right.
Why shouldn't I do that? And a lot of times when I ask that question, why shouldn't I let you know or let them know about you? They can't answer it.
Right.
No, of course
you
not.
know, they can't answer it. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
We could talk about that all day.
Oh,
I mean, it's true. You know, shining a light on someone else doesn't take away my shine.
No,
right? It just amplifies everything around me.
Correct.
Which in the end benefits all of us. Yeah.
Yes.
But people forget that. They're like, no, I don't want to give you any of my lights.
Yes.
What do you mean? It's insanity.
Okay, so as we get close to wrapping this thing up, for you hardworking folks in this room, you as well, I know I heard you working. Now, how do we find balance, right? This work-life balance. I mean, we gotta get some caffeine in that tea. I know you working on the MBA. I know you're working for a reason, right? You're working hard for a reason, but at some point, obviously, we just talked mental health, right? We don't want to crack up because we pushed ourselves too far. I know, Doc. We've talked jazz before. We've talked music before. How are we finding balance? Because we always want to preach that as well. We're talking to these entrepreneurs. We're saying take the leap.
Yeah, we normally do. I think we did that when we were on the podcast. That you need to do certain things so that you can bring it down.
Yes.
And relax.
Yes.
Sometimes now my wife will say, why don't you turn your phone off? I got mentors all over. If they need me, they need me. Now, does it bother me that I might get a call at 3 a.m. from Ghana? A little bit, but I take it out of the room so it doesn't bother her. I think for us, one of the things, that's why we stopped saying that you can do work or you can take a vacation. We call them workations.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. And the biggest thing I tell people is I am a time management guru.
Love it.
You have to make sure that you manage your time so that you're not stressed with it.
That's right.
And all the things I told you that we do, I've made it so that some of the things are digitally run. Okay. They are done from a standpoint where I had to do something once. I don't have to do anything else with it.
Yeah.
Those are the things that you have to make sure that you have in place and you know what you want to do.
100%.
Now, we were talking about music. I love music. I will play music, sometimes a podcast, but I will play music if I'm going somewhere.
Okay.
Just to mellow out during that trip. My ride up here was 50 minutes long. I had all sorts of music, not just jazz, but I had some music going. You know, I wanted to hear a little bit more about your podcast. I was listening to you.
Oh, thank you.
You know, so the big thing is you have to find where you can get away. And I tell people get away. And that doesn't just mean get in a plane, take off, and you go somewhere.
Right.
To get away is just to get away even if you're within yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, in the moment. In the moment. So I tell people you have to take those moments where you don't do anything.
I'll tell you, I'm going to dovetail off of that. We just did a podcast recently, and it was called basically getting off of the not so merry-go-round. And that is just breaking those cycles, those habits that we get in. And I actually talked about mine because, you know, we call ourselves out because
merry-go-round.
the not so merry-go-round.
Like
And because
like
what it is, I have a cycle of burnout where I go hard and I'll burn out, be totally depleted. And I'll go hard and get depleted. That cycle is not sustainable. But I didn't know I was doing it because I'm a high-performing person, so I want to perform. As I take on more things, and as with school, which has helped me to realize I have to say no to certain things, which I never used to do. I would say yes to everything, which is not healthy because I thought that's what I was supposed to do.
Yes, sir.
No, because if I'm giving everyone their oxygen mask, we know what happens. You start getting lightheaded and you pass out, right? So that was happening to me. I have learned now that I've got to sometimes say no because sometimes pulling back is the quickest way to go forward.
That's right.
And I'm getting the time now where I can actually move more, I can focus more, I can think more, I can do well in these courses, vice having my space and my energy just so diffuse that I'm doing nothing.
Right.
I was speaking to a group the other day and I told them, sometimes a shotgun is good, but a laser can be better because it goes right, directed energy to right where you need it. And I was being like a puff gun, poof, just a lot of energy, but it was just everywhere, so it had no effect.
That's funny.
And that doesn't work.
It's funny that you say that because I don't even know if I've told the story on this podcast, but right when COVID hit, for me, and kind of the reason why this podcast got started, amongst many other things that I got my head into, was when COVID hit, I saw a lot of people losing their jobs and a lot of lives being changed. And I had my own business, the insurance agency with the family and all of that. But I just got to a point where I just said, I'm not saying no. I'm not saying no to anything. And I was just taking on yeses and yeses and yeses, just everything that was around me and any opportunity. And I mean, sure, this has blossomed into great things. And there are a number of things that I do well. But I also went back and thought about a podcast that I did with your husband. And he talked about how hard he was working at one point and it took a toll on him physically. It did. And made him step back, forced him to step back, you know. And that's coming in an upcoming episode. We could hear about that. But I just thought about that and I said, you know what, I need to slow down.
Right.
You know, and it was about March when I first met you guys. And shout out to Brett Pipkin for putting us together.
Right, we love you.
Yes.
And so but it was around that time when I was doing so much.
Yes.
When I was just like, wait a minute. Did my heart just flutter?
Right.
You know,
feeling a little lightheaded.
Right.
Yeah, so you know, that work-life balance is important, and you know, it's important to just at least talk to successful folks about how they deal with it, because a lot of people think we just work, and you never.
And unfortunately, that's what a lot of entrepreneurs do. You know, when you talk to some entrepreneurs, they'll say to you, "This life is not for everybody," because a lot of times people look at the fact where I used to work for corporate and I work 8 hours a day. Now I'm working for myself.
Yeah,
I'm working almost 24 hours a day.
That's right.
But that's where when I'm talking to people about starting business and so forth, that you need to make sure that you can streamline that so you're not working 24 hours a day.
Sure.
You know, you want to be able to do that.
Well, one of my favorite lessons that I like to speak to mentees about is kind of, I might be working 24. I might be accessible 24 hours a day. I'm checking email. If I'm awake, I'll check an email. It's just part of my condition. It's just part of my life. But at the same time, I have control over my time. It's my business.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if I decide I'm going to work from a restaurant today, or I'm going to take a longer lunch, or, you know, so you need that control. You know, and sure, there's another lesson in here. if the business fails because you stepped away,
Right.
that's on you too, sure.
Right.
You own all of it.
Yeah, that's where it comes down, that you have to make sure that you're working it properly.
That's
and
right.
That's where people fail because they don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time management specialist. Look at it.
There he said.
I'm just saying. Yeah.
Listen
It's
up,
another
people.
AKA.
Just remember, activity is not the same as productivity. And just because you're doing a
Say
lot,
that again.
it doesn't mean you're doing things that are fruitful. Take note of your actions and assess them and make sure they are giving you the results you need.
Right.
Because we can go hard and go nowhere. Have you ever seen a car do a burnout and just spinning wheels,
Yep.
spinning? A lot of noise and energy, but we're going
it.
nowhere. So
a
you got to
circle.
really
A
monitor
lot
that.
of gas spent
A lot
too
of,
at this
especially
time.
these days.
And gas is too expensive for doing that. But
Say that twice.
what you're saying, I mean, our culture is one of grind, work. In corporate America, you work, you give them a pound of flesh, they will fill your seat tomorrow when you die.
Of course.
Okay?
Correct.
Because that's how it works.
Contract.
And that's what we do. But then when you, oftentimes too, when you visit other places, right, you'll see everybody's getting off at 4 and going to the pub. It's not because they're working less, right? They're still getting their work done, but they understand you have to own your own time. You have to be Maxine Waters and reclaim your time. You have to say no. You have to. Shout out Maxine.
But now give me a little bit on how you manage work and life balance.
Yeah, so that's something I always struggle with too, because it's a juggling act, right? Sure. So I work really hard. I love that my kids see that I work really hard and get to see that as an example.
Yeah.
I also am a mom, so a lot of that falls on me. I also have a husband, and I want to be able to spend time with him. So the way I do work-life balance is I do pull back. Yeah. We vacation, and when we vacation, we shut off, right? We do. Okay. We take our time for ourselves, right? And I take moments out. I take time away. Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? I've been working really hard. I'm going to get up, I'm going to go take a walk. I'm going to go to the gym and go run a little bit. I take my time.
Right. It's
right?
those moments.
It's those moments. Doesn't mean I'm not working. Because there's the brain's always in the back like, just remember you got to do this. And like a little squirrel.
Right.
But I take my moments because you are replaceable, you know. And I think that's when we talked about it, I don't want to spoil what he talked about, but the biggest thing we saw is he was really super successful, working really, really hard. Yeah. And he's also replaceable, right? Yeah. So there was a moment where he was like, man, I can't work like this. I cannot keep doing this. Yeah. It has yielded a lot of success, but at what cost? Yes. And so now it's just reprioritizing and making sure we take that time.
And, I always tell people that not all money is good money.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not talking about and I'm not talking about from the criminal aspect.
No. I mean, just in general.
People say that when it comes to the criminal aspect of it. No, but even in the legal realm, all money is not good money.
That's right.
You have to make sure that it's worth what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah. Highest and best use of your time.
Yeah. Yep. And there's a lot of times when, I'm sure that you've seen it, Cheddy, because I think you were teasing me before, where I'll just do a live. I'm not working, but I'm having a pedicure. And I'm like, hey, everybody, it's DJ Doc. You know where I'm at. You see them toes in. And I make jokes and so forth. Hey, you better get yours done, because if not, your wife will like my feet next to her better than yours. But it's just the fact that I'm just chilling out. Yeah. And this is something that you can do to chill out. It has nothing to do with being manly, things of that nature. I'm relaxed right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're modeling good behavior.
Right. And what's so funny is
I like the way you say
how many people I get that comment and ask me about certain things that I may not have reached putting out something about business. I've seen that work so well.
Yeah.
So
they can see you doing that. And I like that a lot. Okay, so we got a couple business lessons. We're going to leave. Go ahead, Cheddy.
When I was listening to you talk, all I could think of was juggling plates or balancing. People think balancing is static and means it doesn't move. That is not what balancing is. If you notice, when you try to balance on a tightrope or on a curb or any kind of balancing, it's a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, a little bit more to the right. It's left, right, left, up, down, up. It's forward, back. It's a lot of movement.
There's a lot of activity.
Which means you have to monitor that, which means sometimes you got to go a little harder. Sometimes you get to power back, and you've got to be wise enough and aware enough to know when it's time to lean to the left, when to lean to the right, lean forward, lean back. Because when we say balance is intentional. It is not something you just neglect and it happens. Things don't just balance by themselves. They really don't. And balance is not stagnant. Balance is very dynamic, a lot of activities going on. And what you all are saying is you pick your times and you know when to do it. You know, you can tell when your body's saying, my mind is not that sharp right now. I need to power back. That's right. Or you know what? I feel really good right now. Let me go hard on this project. Get it all. My mind is in the right space right now. It's oxygenated. I'm ready to go. Let me do my mental work right now. My mind is sluggish. Let me do my physical work right now. And then you kind of learn how to balance these things. My family feels a little disconnected. Let me take some family time. And if you can monitor those things, and because you are the captain of that ship, it enables you to have that air quote balance that we're talking about. Yep. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
I appreciate that, and I'll just say this: when like I said, had a long day. I didn't get much sleep last night either.
Yes. No sleep, not me.
And getting up and doing that seminar this morning, and all of that, having to prepare for all of that. My mind was a little sluggish, and you guys really just rejuvenated me. So I appreciate this conversation a lot, man. Really. Thank you. So a couple business lessons that we want to throw out today that we picked up on today. Now, in order to move forward, you have to move. Take one step and keep on stepping. That's one. Another, you never know when you're 3 feet away from goal. I'm loving it. Okay. From my friend Mr. Matthews here, negative influences are still influences. Be cognizant of that. And relational wealth, the ability to connect people together, adds value. Monster. Activity isn't the same as productivity. All right? Those are good business lessons, right?
Almost. Yeah,
very good business lessons.
I love them. Love them all. Let's get some contact info, please.
Contact information. We're going to start with Cheddy first. If you want to find him, you can find him on Instagram at Cheddy Speaks. Email him, cheddyspeaks@gmail.com, or on LinkedIn at Cheddy W. Matthews. This sounds like a commercial. And also don't forget to check out his podcast, the Winning Inside Podcast. Right?
Very good podcast.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Reach Doc here, Thomas Howard at DJ Doc SD. Info at thethomashowardenterprises.com, or listen to his podcast, Straight Talk with DJ Doc.
I love it. All right. And of course, thank you, Ty, for joining me today.
Thank y'all for having me. This was wonderful.
Now, you can reach out to Ty with Frontline Careers. Frontline Careers is in the business of helping companies improve their frontline work environment and recognize and celebrate those that have already achieved that. Now, please learn more about her and Frontline Careers at frontlinecareers.com. Also, at Frontline Careers on IG. We ask you guys to like and subscribe us on Same Biz Pod at SAMEBIZPOD and at A Different Day Radio. We had a blast. This is really good.
So good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our guests. Thank you to the guest co-host. And Same Business, Different Day.
Thank you for listening to Same Business, Different Day. We truly appreciate your support. Please like, subscribe, and leave a nice comment on all platforms. It really helps our show. The Same Business, Different Day podcast is produced by A Different Day Radio, Star Fox Media, and James Russell.